Have you ever caught somebody red-handed where you had absolute proof that you were right and they still denied it, and then suddenly they became the victim? Well, on today's story, we have just that thing. Now, this is one of the most destructive things that we see in families and workspaces and friendships, is the inability to take accountability when there's undeniable proof that you did something wrong. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sergeant Q, and with me, as always, Doc Jess.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Awesome. So, Jess, I love this new format that we're doing. These are fun stories. All right, so let's get into the story of these kids. Now, remember, you have to remember, these are kids doing this.
Okay.
And so that changes things for me a little bit when we talk about it. So I want you to be thinking about that these are kids who are doing this, not adults.
Okay.
We call it the hot mess. Am I for hiring professional cleaners to prove my mom was a spite cleaner? I mean, she cleans out of spite, not out of love. Oh. Spite cleaner. Okay, Here we go. This is from a few years ago, but it comes up in arguments lately, so I figured I would get an outside opinion. My mom is what you might call a spite cleaner. She uses cleaning as a tool to control and nag and whine and whatnot. My siblings and I bore the brunt of it. Often she delegated cleaning to Saturdays or Sundays, which we all called Hell Day. She would usually go out, buy food for the week, run errands, leave us to it. And it seemed that no matter how much cleaning we did, she was never happy with the results. And the day would end with all of us arguing, upset, and sometimes we would barely do any cleaning at all, since at the end, the result was always the same: her complaining. Venting to each other outside the house the other day, my siblings and I decided to prove that she was just complaining for the sake of complaining. We set up a GoFundMe to raise funds to pay for a house cleaning company, posing it as something along the lines of, help us get a professional house cleaner to surprise our mom. And we were able to raise a few $100s, mostly from family and friends who knew our situation, which covered the cost and a nice big tip for the cleaners on what was left. So one cleaning weekend when our mom had shopping plans, getting the car looked at, we scheduled a local cleaner to arrive. And two very nice women proceeded to clean the house. It was sparkling. We chatted a bit while they were working, and the ladies had almost 20 years of experience cleaning homes, and the other one had 8 years. With their consent, we filmed some of the clips of them cleaning, saying it was a surprise for our mom. So mom gets home with our uncle, who was coming to dinner. She barely got in the door and she was already complaining about our usual subpar cleaning that either my brother and I didn't do. From the surfaces, or my sister didn't sweep one spot. These were repetitive complaints that she often said. Long story short, we show her the footage and her face gets red and she proceeds to scream at us from embarrassing her in front of her brother. How dare we hire cleaners and have strangers in the house, blah, blah, blah. We argue back, and this proves that she was just weaponizing the cleaning. It's been a few years since then, and after a big blow up, she just did most of the cleaning herself. She never admitted to weaponizing it, and it came up recently as us tricking her, and I don't think we did anything wrong. Am I all right. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah. Oh, this is a hard one because I'm a mom.
Okay.
And there's always different sides to the story. On the surface, yes, what a beautiful opportunity for us as moms to humble ourselves and show our kids what humility looks like, and to lead with example of how to appropriately apologize. and reconcile and make things right. That's what I'm constantly trying to encourage parents to do. And it brings me back to the parenting seminar that my husband and I teach. And one of the sections is explaining that, when you're complaining that your kids don't do something, it's because you're not showing them how to do it properly. They're just little mini reflections of you. And one of the biggest complaints I get as a family counselor is my kids don't ever accept responsibility. So I ask, okay, when's the last time you apologized to your kid for something you did wrong? And 9 out of 10 times, they can't even think of a time that they did it. Not just recently, but ever. Okay. And when I teach the seminar, this is the question I ask. How many of you guys remember your parents apologizing to you as a part of their parenting style growing up? And if I have 100 people in the audience, maybe two raise their hand of having some recollection of their parents apologizing to them. And so it's a huge imbalance out there. Yes. And so what a beautiful story to get me on my soapbox to use this as an opportunity to tell you, if you're a parent, start apologizing to your kids. She was wrong, period. No, boys, you weren't the a-holes. And out of respect for the mom, I'm sure there's a different side of the story as well.
Sure. I gotta say, these kids were brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Brilliant. Sure. Now, if this was an adult or like a husband or something like that, I don't know if I would feel the same way if a husband would have done this way versus like the kids doing it.
Sure.
The kids do it, I think, is brilliant. And it's funny. If it was a spouse, I'd be like, I get what you're doing, but the approach might not have been the best.
Well, and even the approach in the moment, like her problem was that they did it she was embarrassed because they did it in front of her brother. Right.
Right.
That was her complaint. And so it probably would have ended very differently if they said, okay, sorry, mom. Okay, we'll do this. We'll clean. She probably gets a lot of kickback because I'm a mom and I know how kids are too. And so at the end of the night, once they have a dinner or whatever, then they sit down and say, Mom, we have something we'd like to share with you. We've struggled with these cleaning expectations for a long time, and it's been a point of contention in our family. And so we did this experiment, and we want to let you know that we actually did these things and hired these professional cleaners. And so it actually hurts our feelings that it's not just that we can't do anything right. It's like you're constantly looking for things that we're failing at. And this right here, in our opinion, proves it. That's going to be a different conversation than, haha, mom, see, with her brother there. It is going to set the stage a little differently. And so, yes, they're kids, so they don't have the emotional maturity yet to know how to walk through that. And like you said, if it was a parent or a spouse or something, I'm saying, if you're a spouse, do it. Catch them, and in a loving, compassionate way, bring them into the fold.
But not in front of other people.
Not in front of other people.
That's the part that I think.
That's the part that got her really defensive.
Well, I think that she would have been defensive either way.
She probably would have. Sure.
But having her brother there probably didn't help. Because he's known her, and that's probably a character trait that she's had for a long time.
Yeah, that they've probably gotten into things about because of it. So it's I told you so.
Right.
I'm not the only one with this complaint. Right.
Or,
oh, mom used to do that to us.
Right.
And then people like that, then they double down.
Then they feel like
dig
they're
themselves
being
deeper.
Ganged up on.
Yeah.
And you put that person in a no-win situation. Yeah, I really like this story. It was funny. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, if I'd say like the giant in the room, would be pride. That's what she was battling.
Yeah.
Right? Pride. Because she felt embarrassed, probably ashamed and embarrassed, and that turned into anger. And it was because her pride was attacked. She felt damaged.
I got caught.
That ever happened to you?
All the time. And I know that feeling of wanting to double down and justify my behavior versus explain the feelings. We just talked about this. And that's where we're collapsing as a society, is people aren't normalizing taking accountability and just saying, oh, I messed up. You're right.
What's funny is that, Aaliyah is the one who found all these Reddit stories and said, hey, try this new segment, try this out. So we're doing it. And this is one of the stories that she understood because Holly and I would do that to her. And for me, and this goes back to, it wasn't the cleaning of the house, and she interpreted it that way, but it was the laundry room was the egress to the garage, which is the exit. And so if that's full of laundry, full of clutter,
You're thinking
debris,
danger if we need to evacuate. Of course, that's always what you're thinking.
Right. And so my brain doesn't like that clutter to begin with, but in an egress, it feels very dangerous to me.
Yeah.
And so her and I actually discussed this. She's like, well, you used to do that to us. I'm like, when? I didn't, that wasn't a thing. And she had to be like, well, remember the laundry room? I said, okay, yes, you're right. But you remember it was just the laundry room, and here's why. And so we were able to walk through that. And we don't have to agree, but I could at least explain to her, like, you're correct. I did act that way, but just about that specific thing, because for me, it's a safety issue.
The detail that's missing is she didn't hire a professional cleaner to come in and clean it, and you still complained about it not being.
No, but she did trick me and gave me this as a thing to talk about today. And then she's like, how'd you like those stories, Dad?
Oh my!
Did you like those stories? Were they good? Which one did you get to yet? I'm like, well, I got the first one, and then the second one, the house cleaner one. I said, yeah, that one. That was great. And so she baited me into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Not in front of anybody, but she did.
Yeah.
She baited me in just like they did.
Like they did. Great. That's funny.
But yeah, it was fun. But I got to explain that, and yeah, it was funny though, because I was like, oh yeah, you just did to me what the Reddit kids did to their parent just now.
Yeah, baited. Well, and it's even going back to, like, one of the best things you can do is have very, very clear communication and understanding and awareness of what expectations and standards are. Hey, if my kids continuously aren't cleaning to my standard, I'm the problem. I need to go back and show them what the standard is, how to get there, and then I can start enforcing that standard. But if we're making our kids feel like nothing they can do is good enough, to the point where they hire a professional and that's not good enough, those kids are going to be in counseling talking about that mom and some of the trauma or dysfunction from her pride issues that is going to affect how they mother or father or parent.
Yeah. And so if you guys find yourself caught in this trap, it's a very easy to fall into this trap of pride. I fall into it all the time, and I'm like, dang it.
Yeah.
How did I get in here again? Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I got to fix this. I got to make it right. But it's so hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've found that a simple, sincere apology covers a multitude of offense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this huge thing. I used to have to, in my mind, I would build this thing. It's got to be this apology. It's got to be right. And all these things. I've got to name all these different, and I used to try and make it this huge thing. And then like, this is too much. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
But I've realized that if I can just be simple, when you find yourself caught in that pride trap, a simple, sincere apology is the most effective. What it does is it lets the other person know that you're sorry and you're taking accountability and responsibility for your behavior. And what this means is that you're going to build better relationships this way. They're able to forgive you and move on. And if you're working with your kids, you're able to then show them how to operate as a successful, productive, emotionally stable adult.
And they're not going to have a dysfunctional relationship with apologizing. And that's how we lead by example. And the thing is like, if you were never taught, like my husband was never taught how to apologize. And so when he would try to apologize at first, when we were first married, it was, I'm sorry I did this, but because, and I think it's important to point out that you said the simple part of taking ownership and accountability. When you're taking ownership and accountability, there's no but. There's no reason, there's no excuse. You're just focusing on the part that you could have done better and taking accountability for that. That's it. Whether you were 20% of the problem or 80% of the problem, you just focus on the part that you played, the role you played, and the offense that you partook in, and just take ownership of that and see how far that takes you. If we're going to get deeper, it's best to Apologize for the action that you did. Take a responsibility and accountability for that with no reason, no excuse, no but. And then if you can build up to the place of saying, validating how they could see, how you could see how it would hurt the other person and what you're going to do in the future to try not to hurt them in the same way. What action steps you're going to put to not hurt them in that same way in the future. Because that's what repentance is. It's not to get out of the doghouse.
No.
It's to turn from that offense and do something else in the future.
And a lot of times people just like, well, I just want to explain why I did it. And that's fine. You can explain why you did it, but the apology comes, well, for me, I want to explain it, and then I want to apologize after the explanation.
Or that.
Because I don't put them together.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't know. No. Like the laundry room is a good example. When things are in the egress, which means your way out, your most expedient way to get outside if there's an emergency, when there's something in that space because of my time in the military and trauma, it makes it really uncomfortable for me. And I get really angry really quick when things are in that space. I'm sorry that I was mean or overbearing about that. And I didn't explain it well to you when you were a kid. So I said, this is the why. And I'm sorry about that. For me, that's what I found to be very effective.
Perfect.
But the explanation can be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then I always separate the apology after.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back to that all feelings are welcome, but not all behaviors. So I understand why you were feeling that way, because not only does it take you back because of trauma and making like the weight of your family's safety is on your shoulders, and men take that very seriously subconsciously. And so we can look at it as you're overreacting because of this, when if you're not emotionally intelligent, and we're talking when Aaliyah was younger. So you weren't the man then, you are now.
No, she's almost 29.
So,
and this is when she was 14, 15.
Yeah. So you were still understanding and learning how to grow emotionally with your intelligence and maturity. And you 15, 20 years ago, you couldn't quite say, oh, I'm feeling anxious and angry right now because ... You just felt it because you saw it and you acted.
Yes. And nobody ever taught this stuff to me. And so if you're listening right now and you're just having these over emotional reactions, that's okay. Nobody has told you about this. Nobody has taught you how to do this different. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Jess and I both have been right where you're at, where we're like, why am I overreacting? Then you feel bad. Then you feel shame and embarrassment. And you don't know what to do with any of that. Nobody has told us this. That's why we share these things.
Well, and it's a whole journey. You're never going to get perfect at it either. I mean, not only am I a counselor now for 5 years, a parent, I'm constantly learning and growing on how to do things better. And I still fall into this pride spiral of not wanting to take ownership when I do something wrong. I still struggle with that. So I had to get to the point where I said, I'm going to probably struggle with this for the rest of my life. So just take ownership of it now.
Now, here's the really unique thing is, and you said it, and so I want you guys to hear it. You're never going to get to this point where like, okay, I'm done growing.
No.
You're always going to have to grow. And for me, I've had to, in the past few weeks, I've had to kind of reflect back on how far I've come. Just because where God has taken me right now, I reflect back. And it's something that I talked to my daughter about. And she made the comment that, Dad, people see you how you are now, but I remember how you used to be and how you are now. And it is so fastly, I wish people could see that. Because I think they would appreciate what you're teaching so much more. When they see how you are, but I wish they could have seen how you were and the work that you've done to get here. Yeah. It's vastly different. Yeah. Here's a great example of that. I used to get so frustrated and so angry because I didn't know how to manage my emotions. I didn't know how to regulate my nervous system. So I'd be stressed out and I'd be trying to work on something. It was this dehumidifier. There was moisture in the house from a flood. So I'm trying to get this dehumidifier to work and it wasn't working and I'm messing with it and trying to get this stuff. And it's sitting on this little table in the middle of the room and I'm trying to work on it. And I walked away and then I came back and then I walked away. And when I came back that next time, I don't even know why to this day, I punched that thing. And I punched it so hard that it obliterated into a million pieces. I didn't say anything. I wasn't angry. I wasn't like cussing or anything like that. I was just so frustrated. I didn't know what to do. So I just hauled off and I punched this machine. And it's, it's about 10 inches wide, 3 feet by 2 feet.
Perfect.
And I socked this thing so hard. And my family's sitting on the couch. They don't know what's going on. They're on their phones or doing whatever, watching TV. And I just socked this thing so hard that it obliterated. And everybody was like, whoa, what just happened? And I remember the look on their face like shock and awe, like, what is...
Dad's a ticking time bomb.
And Holly said, what did the dehumidifier do to you? And I was like, I don't know. And I remember I just cried in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle my emotions. I didn't know how to do any of that.
Yeah.
Praise God, my family had so much grace for me at that time. And they allowed me to grow. But that's where I was. That's one example of how I just was, you say it all the time, a hot mess, Jess. I was the same way.
Yeah.
I've gotten better. I'm not perfect. I'm getting better, and we both are.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave an example last week about you were at the Muckleshoot, driving through the Muckleshoot reservation, and they're firing off fireworks, and it spooked you a little bit, and it caused some of your PTSD to flare up. Later, we were playing cards, and you're like, oh my gosh, why are my hands shaking? What's going on? You hadn't even recognized, you noticed your hands were shaking, but you hadn't connected those two. I said, well, Jess, you just had that experience just an hour ago driving through the reservation, and your nervous system is still trying to recover from that. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And because I've come so far, I forget that I can still have reactions like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And
then what did you ask me after that? Do you remember?
How'd you know?
Well, you asked how'd I know, but then a couple minutes later you said, how did you deal with that? So you sought advice like, okay, how did you deal with that? I said, Jess, I didn't deal with that. The constant mortars that you were under, like I was out on a retrans site. I was not in a built up area. So those types of things I didn't experience. I experienced totally different stuff. But the first thing you did was, okay, somebody brought it to your attention, and the awareness part kicked in, right? The 5 levels of growth. So awareness. Yeah. And then you were contemplating it. And then you were researching by asking questions like, okay, what do I do? And now you're taking action because you're supposed to go to an event there at the Muckleshoot. Yeah. And you're trying to create a plan of how can I do this and be successful?
Yeah. How can I prepare so I don't have emotional outbursts and
That's right.
punch the humidifier.
And punch the humidifier.
But what's interesting is I'm glad that you see me in such a high light. But one of the reasons I asked you that was because I still deal with a little bit of self-shame or embarrassment that 20 years later, a firework still affects me so much that I was really shaken. Like, it was like, what is wrong with me? I'm really shaken. And I struggle with, why does it still affect me so much? And I have to remember that we all had different experiences in Iraq.
Yes.
Not everybody got mortared every single day and had those mortars drop, 11 in a row, and each one got closer and closer. And you're just kind of looking up at the sky like, okay, which one's going to come and just strike me through the chest? Because I saw deaths like that. And so that's why the fireworks might affect me differently than somebody else who was deployed that was more out on the fronts and in firefights, things like that. That might be a different trigger. Like, they're just different experiences. So I can't compare my growth to somebody else when they might not have experienced the same things as me.
That's exactly right. And for you and me, I was on the opposite end of that. I'm the forward observer calling those things in, walking them closer and closer and closer and closer. So you and I have a totally different relationship with that exact experience.
Yes. You were in control of the mortars. And that's why people have told me, like, you should take drum lessons and things like that and go to a range where it's just you shooting. Because if I go to a range and I can't control the pop, like, I can't do it. But if I go to a private range by myself and I'm in control of the pops, it's different. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Exposure therapy, right?
Yeah.
And part of it is like, how much of this is affecting is it affecting your life so much that it's stopping you from doing things? Then you've got to address it. But there's other things that are kind of low where it's like, okay, this is affecting me, but it's not affecting my life. negatively. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to work on the things that are negatively affecting my life.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's easy to fix these little tiny things that don't really matter.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the big giants in our life
that are actually affecting the people around us and ourselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because then you can be pious and be like, oh, I'm constantly working on myself. You're working on the low-hanging fruit things that actually don't negatively affect you.
That's right.
Oh, I'm going to stop eating, I don't know, red meat, but I'm drinking a fifth of Johnny Walker every night. I'm not doing that, and I've never done that. But look at me, I'm pious. I'm going to deny my flesh of this thing to make it look like I'm being healthy, when really the thing that's demolishing my life is that fifth of Jack that I'm drinking every night. That's what you should really be working on, not the red meat.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Because eating a lot of red meat could affect you over time, but that alcohol is affecting you right now.
Yeah.
And, alcohol is a great dissolvent. It dissolves mental clarity, relationships, jobs.
Yeah.
It dissolves things very quickly.
Yes.
The Bible talks a lot about confess your sins one to another.
Yeah.
Asking for forgiveness. How much should we forgive? 7 times 70. Talks a lot about this right here, what we've been discussing. And science actually proves it. It's very difficult. When we feel that shame and embarrassment because our pride gets in the way, it is a direct reflection of our self-image. So it feels like a physical attack.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a physical attack, our body perceives it that way. That's what they call cognitive dissonance, because it's attacking your self-image. And it's very difficult for people to process through, especially when they don't know it.
Yeah.
They don't understand it. And so my challenge to you guys today is to think about what is one time in the recent past, we're talking in the last couple months, that your pride has gotten in the way. It could be a couple months, couple weeks, couple days. It could have been this morning. And you're hearing this thinking, dang it, they're talking about me. And yes, we are. Because we're talking about all of us.
Yes.
Because all of us fall into this trap. This is a giant out there that we all have to battle on the battlefield of the mind. So when's the last time that happened to you? And now that you're armed with this information, how are you going to go and make it right?
And I would go even further to say most people watching this, human instinct is you're calculating people in your mind that you want to send this to because they need to get better at it. Because that's what we all do. When I would take it a step further and challenge yourself to stop that and say, okay, I'm watching this podcast for me, not for other people. And usually if my mind goes to somebody else that could work on it, means there's something in me that I could work on as well.
The scripture talks about that. Take the log out of your eye before you take the speck out of your brother's eye.
Yeah.
Which means we need to work on ourselves before helping others. And when I talk about the spheres, I talk about the very first sphere of healing and influence is yourself. You have to work on yourself. And then once people start to see like, hey, you've changed, you've gotten better, you're doing well.
Yeah.
What are you doing different? Then you can start to share with other people because they see the results in you. You can't go to them and say, hey, you need to fix this, because they're looking at you like, what are you talking about? You need to fix that.
Exactly.
And nobody gets help. But if you start working on yourself, people see that and want to know what's different.
Yeah.
And then you can start to share that with them. And then you all
so
get
glad you
better
asked.
together.
Why don't you start watching this podcast? That's
right.
challenging me to be better.
And we know people like this in our life that we've been doing this at our church that come to us and say, I've been listening to this and it's really helped. People like that every week that come up and tell us how they're using this and it helped them. And then other people recognized it in them.
Yeah.
So it does happen. Well, we want to do 3 things here on the Mental Health Janitors. We want to educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. So my encouragement is for you to take this lesson, see where you went wrong, and go make it right. Like, share, subscribe. For the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
I'm Doc Jess.
And we're out.